It's a cold and snowy spring day here in Colorado. This is Mace Kochenderfer. I am with Colorado Reverse Mortgage, and I am here today to help you move forward in reverse. Today we got a question from Phil W. And let me just read this question. This is a good one, by the way. Mace, my wife is 65 and I am 60. I was laid off and am finding it difficult to find employment. We've got some savings, but don't want to totally deplete them over the next few years. I've not given up looking for a job, and I may take a different path than what I've done for the past 35 years. If nothing else, it will allow me to stretch our nest egg out even further by getting a job. Our home is worth about $400,000, and we have an outstanding mortgage balance of about $125,000. We owe less than $10,000 in credit card debts. We have no car loans. I know I don't qualify for a reverse mortgage because I'm not 62 years old, but we were wondering if you have any suggestions. Phil has a solid equity position and in his home, and a reverse mortgage would provide enough of a benefit to pay off his current mortgage and his other debts. This is an interesting scenario that has a few answers because Phil's not quite 62, but only Phil and his wife can determine what is going to be best for their scenario or their situation at this time. The way I see it, Phil and his wife have 4 options. Now, sometimes people don't like my solutions, but I'm not here to sugarcoat my answers. So let's take a look at or explore these 4 options. Now, Phil, this may not be an option that you like, but it is an option. Feel free to embrace it or ignore it. It's quite simple, actually. It's easy. Sell your home, pay off your debts, buy a less expensive house in perhaps a different neighborhood. This may not be an attractive solution for you, but it may be the proper solution for you or someone else who's watching this video. I won't say it will be easy and it's not going to be fun, but sometimes it is clearly the most appropriate, but not always the most obvious of the solutions. Selling your family home, buying a new one, the expenses involved with both, along with the time, the emotion, and the stresses are beyond my focus. I'm not a real estate broker, I'm not a family therapist, so I don't really have a whole lot more to share here or don't have any other input to give. So with that, let's move on to option 2. Phil, since you're not yet 62, you don't qualify for an FHA HECM reverse mortgage. HECM is the acronym, the term we use. It's an acronym for Home Equity Conversion Mortgage. So you'll hear me reference HECM or reverse mortgage. The term is oftentimes just interchangeable. So option number 2 is to simply do nothing but hang tough for the time being. Go get that new job, learn a new skill. You may have to deplete that nest egg a little bit for the interim. I'm not going to say it's going to be fun, but sometimes you do what you got to do. I can't solve your problem today, but maybe I can solve it tomorrow. Okay. Now, a month or 2 prior to your 62nd birthday, you and your wife can contact me at Colorado Reverse Mortgage to begin the application process. Now, during the period from the beginning of the application to your actual birthday, during this period, together we're going to get our ducks in a row. You're going to get your counseling completed. You're going to help me with some paperwork. The title report will be completed. The appraisal will be completed. Everything will be gathered. We're going to submit it. It'll be reviewed by the underwriter, and that's the process where we get the final approval. Then on the date of your 62nd birthday, you'll be able to close on your reverse mortgage. Your current mortgage and those credit cards will all be paid off on that day, and I'll get to say happy birthday at that point. Okay, Phil, let's move on to option 3. And I've got no opinion as to whether this option is appropriate or not. Perhaps you married your high school sweetheart and you guys have been married for 40 years. Then again, for all I know, you married 3 months ago in the spur of a moment wild weekend in Las Vegas. Regardless, it doesn't matter. But for the sake of this conversation, I'm going to assume that you're both fully committed to each other till death do you part. Now, your wife is 65 years old. She's on title, but she is old enough to qualify for a reverse mortgage on her own. Phil, you could remove yourself from title and allow her to complete the reverse mortgage on her own. Now, by doing this, you'd stop the monthly outflow over the next, I don't know, let's say 18 months, or however many months it is before your 62nd birthday. But if you're stopping your current mortgage principal and interest monthly payment, let's say is $1,000, and your credit card minimum payment is $150, then over this assumed 18-month period, you'd actually have an extra $20,700 in your back pockets and no credit card debt. Now, a few years ago, I would have absolutely advised you not to consider this as a valid option. There used to be a concern about what would happen, primarily to you, if your wife died before you. A few years ago, you'd actually have a pretty big problem because the reverse mortgage was required to be paid upon death of the mortgager, your wife. And you'd have to figure out whether you're 62 years old or 82 years old. You'd have had to have figured out how to pay back the reverse mortgage. But in 2014, FHA made a change to the program, and this is to protect what we call the non-borrowing spouse. That'd be you, Phil. Okay, you're the NBS, non-borrowing spouse. So the non-borrowing spouse is protected because the FHA has deferred the repayment of the reverse mortgage until your death. This means you can continue to live in the home without needing to make any repayment, whether you live 1 year after your wife passes or whether you live 35 years after your wife passes. Now, I do have more information on my website. It's co-reverse.com. If you go to the FAQs, the facts, I have more details on how this works. Okay, now the fourth and final option that I see allows you to remain on title to the home because in this scenario, the youngest homeowner must be 60 years old, at least 60 years old, not 62. So what we're not going to do a HECM reverse mortgage, but rather let's consider a non-HECM reverse mortgage. This is a proprietary reverse mortgage. Sometimes it's known as the jumbo reverse mortgage. Now, don't let the term jumbo mislead you. Any home size or value works. So whatever we call it, even though it's not guaranteed by the FHA, for the most part, it works like the more common HECM. Now, of course, there are pluses and there are minuses when choosing this option. But for now, I can't help you determine whether this option is appropriate without us actually having a deeper fact-finding conversation. So you can give me a call and we'll find out, whether this is appropriate. Again, I do have more details on my site and actually another educational video about this. If you're interested, just go to the homepage at www.co-reverse.com. Phil, thank you again for sharing your concerns and your questions with me. Your situation allowed me to expand a bit, and I hope others watching this video found it interesting. My intent was to give you more insight as to what options you have at this point. I do run across similar scenarios a few times every year, actually, and ultimately different clients have chosen different options. Usually there is one option that is the clear choice. With a brief phone conversation, the right path is generally found quickly, and I'm glad to offer my input with no expectations. Now, if others out there have questions or would like to run a scenario past me, just give me a holler through email. It's mace@co-reverse.com, or give me a phone call. I do look forward to continuing to help you move forward in reverse. This is Mace Kochenderfer with Colorado Reverse Mortgage signing off. Take care.